What is the biggest problem with the vaccines, whether created by Moderna or Pfizer or AstraZeneca? The truth is, it's not just the risk that's involved with taking any vaccine. It's not just the unknowns about what this vaccine might have in terms of harmful effects. It's the fact that we can't even ask questions about it, and we can't trust the answers we're getting on social media or from mainstream media. I'm Ben Swann, and this is Truth in Media. Hey guys, welcome to the show, and I just want to talk today about this new vaccine from Pfizer and Moderna that's been making the rounds. Of course, you've probably seen a number of healthcare professionals have been given these vaccines with very strange side effects, including one nurse who fainted shortly after taking it. Of course, the fact checkers on Facebook, they immediately dismiss that as, oh, this woman has a condition that causes her to faint when she feels pain. That's why she collapsed. We have others who have taken the vaccine and immediately had anaphylaxis as a result of it. In fact, I want you to see this very latest story. A doctor in Boston with a shellfish allergy developed a severe allergic reaction after receiving Moderna's coronavirus vaccine on Thursday. The New York Times reported on Friday, citing the doctor. Dr. Hossein Sadrzadeh, a geriatric oncology fellow at Boston Medical Center, said he had a severe reaction almost immediately after being vaccinated, feeling dizzy with a racing heart, the New York Times reported. It is the first severe reaction linked publicly to Moderna's vaccine, which is in its first week of a nationwide rollout. So for the very first time, there was an anaphylactic allergic reaction to Moderna's vaccine, which had just begun its nationwide rollout. Simultaneously, though, it should be mentioned that Moderna and Pfizer have had very similar complications with a number of people. In fact, Pfizer has had as many as 6 allergic reactions to their vaccine, including people who suffered from anaphylactic reactions. Quote, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said that the FDA is investigating around 5 allergic reactions that occurred after people were administered Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine in the United States. The first worker, a middle-aged woman, had no history of allergies, had an anaphylactic reaction that began 10 minutes after receiving the vaccine at Bartlett Regional Hospital in Juneau on Tuesday. A hospital official said she experienced a rash over her face and torso, shortness of breath, and elevated heart rate. Now, what's fascinating about this is that we're being told over and over and over that the vaccine is absolutely necessary, and at some point, everyone's going to be required to get it. But at the same time, we keep getting such mixed messages about this vaccine, including the message about whether or not, if you get the vaccine, you'll still have to wear a face mask and social distance. Because Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying you will. If you take the vaccine, you're still going to be required to wear a face mask and keep your distance from other people, and that lockdowns may still be required, which demonstrates that the vaccine then has nothing to do with public health, nor do these orders, because you can't mandate that everyone get the vaccine in order to protect the public, then turn around and say, but the vaccine's not really protecting the public. If you still wear a mask, if you still have to social distance, and if it is believed, as it is right now, that the vaccine does not prevent infection, it does not prevent the spread of infection from one person to another, then you have to ask the question, what is the point of the vaccine in the first place? And that, of course, raises another serious question, because as we've talked about this issue before, there is another very important reality that is not being discussed. And that is the reality that the COVID vaccine seems to fail in its basic promise of being able to end the coronavirus pandemic. It does not seem to do that on any level. So then you have to ask this question, then why get it in the first place? Why would anyone take a vaccine for a disease or a virus that has a 99.98% survival rate if by getting the vaccine it doesn't prevent infection, spread of the disease, does not force the end of mask wearing, and does not end the lockdowns? What is the point here? Now, something else that's fairly interesting that I was shown the other day from a whistleblower in Maine who works as an EMT. And EMTs in Maine many of them are deciding to not get this vaccine. But as a result of that, they're being forced to sign a waiver. And I want to read to you some of what's on this waiver. Maine EMS declination of COVID-19 vaccine for public safety professionals. Maine CDC, Maine EMS, and MDPB recommend that I receive the COVID-19 vaccination to protect myself, my patients, clients, my colleagues, and others in my community. I acknowledge that I am aware of the following. Please read an initial next to each statement. COVID-19 is a serious respiratory disease. As of December 16th, over 300,000 people have died in the U.S., and there have been over 60 million people confirmed with cases of COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccination is recommended for me and all other public safety professionals to protect our colleagues and the communities that we serve from COVID-19, its complications, and death. If I contract COVID-19, I may remain infectious for 10 days or more. During this time, I shed the virus and can transmit COVID-19 to my family, colleagues, and people we serve. If I become infected with COVID-19, even if my symptoms are mild or non-existent, I can spread COVID-19 to others. Symptoms that are mild or non-existent in me may cause serious illness and death in others. I understand that it is impossible to get COVID-19 from the COVID-19 vaccine. I understand that this vaccine has undergone rigorous trials, testing processes that met all the U.S. FDA requirements for issuance of an emergency use authorization. I understand that receiving this vaccine will be essential in establishing herd immunity and eventually moving back to normal processes. I understand that mRNA vaccines do not alter, change, or even interact with my DNA. The consequences of my refusal to be vaccinated could have life-threatening consequences for my health and the health of everyone with whom I have contact, including my co-workers, my family, and members of the communities I serve. I understand that I'm being offered the COVID-19 vaccine and I'm electing not to get vaccinated. I understand that I can change my mind at any time and receive the COVID-19 vaccination. Think about what was said there. I recognize that COVID-19 is a serious illness and that by not getting the vaccine that I can contribute to the death of other people. But at the same time, the statements being made there are not factually correct. For instance, the idea that if you don't get the COVID-19 vaccine, that you're putting everyone else around you in harm's way, that's simply not true. Nor is it true that if you get the vaccine, that people around you will be safer. As I mentioned before, the vaccine has not been proven to prevent people from transmitting and spreading COVID-19. In fact, the vaccine has not been proven to do anything other than allow you to contract COVID-19 on some level, and then you can possibly still spread it to other people. And so this is where we find ourselves in this incredible moment, because as I mentioned, what is the real threat, the greatest threat that comes from this vaccine? What is the greatest threat to the public right now? Well, the truth is, the greatest threat comes from social media and mainstream media who do not allow any questioning of the vaccine whatsoever. We are about to see mandates of this vaccine worldwide. We are about to see requirements for immunity passports in order to be able to travel. That is on its way. I've been telling you about this now for almost a year, that is on its way. And yet, we're being told that if you don't get this vaccine, you are a threat and a harm to the safety of those around you. But simultaneously, even if you get the vaccine, it won't necessarily end the threat to the harm of those around you. And so you can't question any of these items because you're not allowed to question the vaccine, what's in it, how it works or doesn't work. You're not allowed to pose any single question whatsoever. And that is, I believe, the biggest threat to our freedom heading into 2021. The inability to question. We've been talking about this now for a long time. The reality is that right now we are living in a moment where we are not allowed to question anything. Elections, election results, leadership. We're not allowed to question who is in authority, how they got there, whether or not they should be in authority in the first place. We're not allowed to question any of it. Everything around us is based upon this idea that we must simply obey, submit, and comply. And I believe that in 2021, that belief is fast coming to an end. There is a rising up of people all across this nation and all across this world who will no longer just sit down and be quiet, because they realize the longer that you sit and the longer you're quiet, the longer you will be required to do so.